Hey guys, Firefang92, news of the week. First off, I apologize because this is going to be a bit hasty because at first there wasn't a lot of news, there was just Orgeyser damned, and then it just sort of hit me all at once with the monthly bushy and stuff. But, you know, haven't got a lot of videos out there recently, and regionals coming up and everything, so I thought I'd just talk at you for a few minutes. What we have right here is we have a double R for years, and it's called Upstream Dragon. When he attacks at G-Break 1, you can give him 4k at a 9k base, so swinging for 13, which is, hey, if you can play the 8k booster, hey, have fun. And then, if you do, you replace him with a grade 1. So, at the end of the battle. That's nice. It's like, actually, the more important part of the effect, you'd think it'd be the 4k, but the more important part of the effect is fetching a grade 1, because you can use it to search out your unflippers, or mist geysers, or just whatever you need in the situation. Unfortunately, it calls it as rest, so you can't use it for multi-attack, which would have been cool, but not just a consistency card, but consistency cards are nice. Boop. Next up, we have Supremacy Black Dragon Orgeyser Damned. He's a little... okay, so act once per turn, counterblast 1, flip up a Supremacy Black Dragon or Gazer Dragon, so he flips up his base form. Then choose 3 of your rear guards and retire them. Reveal the top 2 and then retire 1 for each of the grade 1 or less revealed with the effect, and put the cards into your hand. And then if you have 3 or more face-up Orgeyzers, he gets crit. So, effectively, you really have to sack to turn that into not a minus. And even then, like, I'm going to say with this guy, most of the time you'd probably be better off just going with Phantom Blaster. But, you know, if there's something really pesky that needs to get retired, there's an option. Black Shiver Gabriel. This is actually a very interesting card. It's the Break Stride for Angel Feather. And actually, in this set, all clans Break Stride's got triple R, so fun. At G-Break 2, whenever a card is put into the damage, she gets the continuous effect that every card in your front row gets 2k. Which, if you played old school Angel Feather, and you know that they used to really focus around building up combos to pump up like your Pegasuses and things, that's a decent effect offensively, but the important part here is that she can activate on the opponent's turn, so it's a defensive Break Stride, and those are always excellent. And then counterblast and swap something from your damage with a card from the top of your deck on Stride. Kind of boring, but, you know, standard on Stride stuff. Mythic Beast Venerer. The Genesis Break Stride, and what he does is Soul Blast 3 on attack at G-Break 2 for Glory with a crit. That's not as amazing as you might think, just because you could have just been playing Iggy. The on-stride effect kind of brings it back a little, but on-stride, Soul Charge 3, and your Vanguard that gets the effect that you can counterblast 1 to call something that gets Soul Blasted. That's a nice little bit of plussing. Unfortunately, I want to say that G-Genesis are soul charging just way too much, and they don't have anything to use all that soul yet. We'll see how Vanagram is, though. Now this is interesting. Raging Spear Mutant Deity Stun Beetle. G-Break 2 as a G unit, and in case you aren't sure what that means, since he is on the Vanguard, you only need one face up in the G zone, and you're at G-Break 2. Counterboss 2 on hit, you may pay the cost, yada yada. Select your opponent's Vanguard. It cannot stand during their next stand phase, and they cannot normal ride during their next ride phase. It's very CB heavy if you CB2 and G Persona. It's very CB heavy if you hit, but if you don't, it's just a very, very imposing card, because essentially what this means is if it ever hits, your opponent will die, because if you've ever faced a Mega Colony and been on a stunned Vanguard and not had the card to ride, you know how fucking deadly, shouldn't swear, you know how deadly that is. So essentially what this becomes is it's the same situation as like all the Ragna Clocks and Phantom Blasters and stuff like that out there, that it's, you know, do you have a PG? If no, well, you're dead. But he has a few specific advantages in that he doesn't have to pay the cost unless you hit. So you can threaten with this 3 times in a game. So if you manage to play defensively, and also, even if your opponent tries the whole I'm gonna stay at 2 early game and let the first one hit to save advantage trick, that won't work on him, because you're gonna create that huge advantage by getting the turn where your opponent can't ride anyway. So basically it's a true PG or death card that can threaten 3 times instead of 2. So it's actually really fantastic. Intimidating Mutant Darkface, another defensive break stride. Because what he does is G-Break 2, Soul Blast 2, a little bit of a heavy cost. We're definitely going to have to be playing Machining Mosquitoes, and maybe if you're bold, peck in a couple of Mega Colony Battle Arrays. Soul Blast 2, when your opponent calls a card, rest it. So that's pretty awesome. You can take less attacks during your opponent's turn by just going, no, that's rest. No, you can't call that, it's rest. Your opponent can sort of throw cards at you if they've been building up a lot of advantage, and eventually you will run out of soul, but it's probably only an issue with like Shadows and Royals and stuff like that. And then Counterblast 1, on stride, choose 2 of your opponent's rear guards. They are stunned, and then if they're at rest at the end of your opponent's turn, you draw a card. Plussing is excellent, especially when you're plussing off a defensive effect like that. And your opponent's going to be using a lot of resources to make sure that Stun Beetle isn't hitting. So this is an excellent card. I don't think it's enough to make Mega Colony meta, unfortunately. I guess you could go the like Team Absolution route and say, you know, oh, they're always the anti-meta clip, which sort of, but they don't counter anything in the meta. They just counter the basic mechanics of the game. So if you want to think of that as being anti-meta, yes, they will always be anti-meta. Steam Fighter Bailiff. What he does is G-Break 1 on rearguard. If he hits Counterblast 1, bounce an opponent's card to the bottom. Then, if you stride over him, you can Counterblast 1 and change your heart to Chronojet. So, it's a very excellent card, because essentially what that means is I play Chronojet. Fun. And because Chronojet is the only gear boss except for the Legion build, which, you know, play 8 of them, why wouldn't you? Oh, and he also has a bit of interesting utility in that he's the only worthwhile grade 3 to call with Epoch Maker. Okay, on to Machining Scorpion Mark II. Legion with either Hornet Mark II or Mosquito Mark II. Counterblast 1, discard a card on Vanguard if he's in Legion. Call up to 3 machinings from your soul at rest, and he gains power equal to their total power. Unfortunately, that's an act. If you could, like... you almost need to do it when he's stridden over, you know what I mean? Because the idea is that's kind of meant to work with Destroyer, but if you're taking the extra turn to Legion and then get into Destroyer, you haven't really given yourself much speed advantage. But, plussing is plussing, so having a plussing boss isn't bad. And then his other effect is slip of machining into the soul, stand one of your rear guards, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and stun it. Which, that's okay. Not great, not bad. Basically, the way I see this is, if you still want to be playing the Tarantula deck, he is a good backup for Tarantula. But unfortunately, not often will you have the soul to really use him effectively. Machining Mosquito Mark II. During your turn, if you have a Vanguard with machining in its name and your opponent has all your opponent's Vanguard and rear guards are rest, which they always will be, he gets auto once per turn. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, choose one of your rear guards and stand it, and choose one of your opponent's rear guards and stun it. It's nice. 11k attacker. Lends itself to multi-attack with a little bit of stunning on top. You know, what more can you ask for? I would definitely play it even if you're not playing Scorpion Mark II. Next off, we have Fascinated Mutant Sweet Cocktail. This really should have been a double R, but they decided to make Pier double R instead, who I didn't even deem important enough to talk about today. Counterblast 1, when it attacks, if it's boosted, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, rest it, stun it, and it cannot intercept or stand during the next stand phase, but I already said stun badly. Yeah, and if it's still rested at the end of your opponent's turn, you draw a card. So, plussing, excellent. Stunning, excellent. Preventing intercept, excellent. Especially on a stunned card, because that's always what your opponent does. They just intercept away the stun card. It's annoying, but this gets around that. Next off, we have Jumpgull, who I'm talking about just because he's adorable! G-Break 1, if you have 2 or more grade 1 or less rear guards, he gets power plus 5k and intercept, if he is in the front row. Oh, and Forerunner. So, he's excellent in that he's a consistent 11k attacker that can also intercept at 10,000. He might be worth on his own just teching in over a couple of grade 2s. But it's going to be kind of hard to play him as a Forerunner because you don't want to, call to the left or the right. Also, he's support for, what's his name? Sanctuary Guard. Because, hey, now you can go ahead and play 4 or 5 grade 1 or lesses. And everyone gets plus 15. So, yeah, excellent card. Next off, we have Heat Elemental Booer. When he hits, retire himself, fetch a Limit Break. Are you playing a Limit Break? Here's something to search it. It's Gray Elemental. Flying Kelly. Now, I am going to wrap up, a few Genesis cards in my discussion of this card, like their grade 3 G-Break 1 and their Amber Clone, because effectively it all amounts to the same sort of thing, that What Flying Kelly does is Gen Break 1, Counterblast 1, On Call, Soul Charge 3. Then if you have Flying Kelly in the Soul, draw 1, unflip 1. So it's effectively Flying Librarian, but more Soul Charges and easier, kind of. Depends on certain things. But anyway, the reason I'm going to talk about all 3 cards at once is because the Gen Break 1 and the Amber Clone both also Soul Charge 3, then draw a card. So this is good and it's bad. And it's good because it means, hey, Genesis finally has rear guards that are worth playing, which is nice. But you're also very much at risk of decking out with modern Genesis. Well, again, we'll have to see what Vanagrand is, because if he's one of those bosses like Gilderay where kill them turn 4 or 5 or you die in return, it's kind of going to be stupid to argue about, but there's a good side and there's a bad side, and having actual plussing power is always a good thing, and having rearguard that do something is something Genesis that Genesis has needed for a while now. But you do have an additional lose condition now, is what you need to look at. If you're used to playing like OTT or Grand Blue or anything where you know you will always be at risk of the deck out, you know how it goes. Like, you just put yourself on a clock and you say, okay, I have to be so aggressive to win within this time frame. And that's how you have to do it. So hopefully Vanagrand will be able to do that for them. Dark Elemental Dokazurk. Choose one of your Vanguards Limit Break 5, and while this is on the field, it's a Limit Break 4. So that gets around the big weakness of Limit Break 5 being so risky in that you have to actually take an attack to put you to 5, in which your opponent could crit over that and just kill you. Unfortunately, he's not going to see much play, because the only card that can really use him is Maelstrom, and Maelstrom has so many better grade 1s to run anyway. But if you can find a spot to tech him, he's probably worth a tech, especially in Maelstrom. Maybe in a Glen deck, but your World's End win condition is still going to be way too slow to pull off in the first place. And your grade 1 spaces are even tighter than Maelstrom's were. I mean, the Blood has essentially like a little window in which it's kind of better with this, but if you want to be playing the Blood, you should just play the Crimson instead, and it's better. Obviously, Alfred can't use it because it's not a Liberator. Who does that leave? Oh, that Counterblast 4 Genesis thing. That's unsalvageable. And, who am I missing? I'm missing, Platina Ezel. If your opponent's not at 4 or 5 damage, Platina Ezel will sort of always fall short, because I had 10,000 to my rear guards. Great, I'll take them. Okay, so there was a few more things, like Pier, who adds 2k to himself and something else when Grade 2 Royal is called, but, you know, obviously, and, you know, like PGGs and stuff. But this is what I deemed important enough to talk about for now, and there's only a few cards left to be revealed, so hopefully next week there will be more time for other things. Thanks for watching. Firefang92, signing out.